Is that a reasonable question or no?
But they weren't like denying the zakat as a whole. They were denying that Abu Bakr shouldn't get it.
So that was some of them.
Yeah. So
Hey, what about that was a group of them.
Yeah.
What about the people who denied zakat? They say that it died with the Prophet ﷺ.
Yeah, but at least they affirmed some of the zakat.
No. Let's talk about people who denied it and they say no, we don't give zakat. Yes.
Were they Sahabi and like they're making? If you could argue that
They weren't. None of the Sahaba agreed to this. There were actually tribes who said that we're not going to give zakat.
well, you could also argue that maybe they don't know because like it's
Okay.
it's not
Interesting.
the knowledge.
عذر بالجهل. Okay. So is it possible today that someone can be like, "Nah, I'm not giving zakat," and you'd be like, "Why not?" It's like, who said it was an obligation?
Yeah.
I doubt. I think
Today?
I doubt
Come
it.
on. Well, there are some pretty.
Today, Habibi.
2023.
Anamak. I agree.
Yeah,
There are some pretty ignorant people, but is there people who are going to be like, prayer? What's that?
Well,
It's like, I believe in Allah and I believe in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but this thing prayer,
I've heard
I don't know
some
about
things
that. You've heard some things.
Like in Albania with the communist regime, like
There's
decades.
sure. So there's a different there's a difference between people who are behind the Iron Curtain, right? In specific scenarios and specific situations. But I'm saying as a whole, right? Generally, is it possible today for people to not know that zakat is an obligation?
I don't know.
Right? It's extremely unlikely, right? Because these are تفضل يا أخي.
Like, if you say I'm Muslim,
Mhm.
you'll be Christian, If you know the religion, if you are serious,
If you fast,
Yeah.
right? If you believe in fasting,
Yes.
I don't know, like some intro Maliki fiqh text, they don't even have the bab of zakat because everyone's too poor to even need to know how to do it.
that's.
So,
I'm saying that's very different, right? That's a scenario. But would those people say like, no, zakat is not a thing?
but where
Or
does it mean that? And it says give zakat, but doesn't,
Yeah.
it doesn't, I think,
Sadaqat, right? So zakat and sadaqah is used very interchangeably in the Quran, very interchangeably.
Yes.
So the question then comes is like, or where does the obligation come from?
about these percentages or from this or from that.
Sure.
It's very technical. Very, very technical.
Nobody's even talking about percentages right now. I'm talking about asl wujub al-zakat. Is zakat an obligation upon Muslims or no?
And also you have to differentiate.
So the only thing that I can think of is like where there aren't exceptional situations. Is there a situation where can I ever be too sick to not pray?
Yeah. I mean,
Sick.
No.
That's not being sick, Yahi. That's right. So coma, it's not a sickness, right? It's a special state. Junoon, are you going to tell me that too, or no?
What about you can't move your neck, you're paralyzed?
Save, You still have to pray.
Who you ask.
You still, no.
You,
No, but you still have to. The obligation still stands.
Oh, the hukum is still there.
Yeah.
Recipient, yeah.
Well, no. Well, what if you're a tax collector?
Tax collector?
Yeah,
They receive zakat, right?
they're eligible to receive.
Include
The guy who takes the taxes, how's he getting paid?
from the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly how the zakat works. وَعَامِلِينَ عَلَيْهِ.
So the guy who collects the zakat takes
Yeah.
from it?
Yeah. So
No, I'm talking about the people who are very poor.
those are different groups of people.
Yeah.
Akhi. But I'm saying you can't use that as the condition. The condition is the people who don't reach the minimum threshold. That's the condition.
85
Period.
grams,
Yeah. So those people, because it's possible that this person hasn't reached the nisab, so that person wouldn't be eligible to. He doesn't have to give zakat. Are there situations where a person might not have to fast? Right. If you have a terminal illness, right, you'll be excused from fasting. If I don't have money, I also don't have to make Hajj, right? I don't have to give.
Yes.
Right. Prayer is the only one that there's basically no excuse for as long as I am conscious, right? Like for the rest of these, I can be conscious but still be. I can still be excused. I can still be excused. Like a person who is terminally ill, he can still walk around. He's still functional. He can still There's still a lot of things he can do, but he can still be excused from fasting. right? He might have to pay a kafara, for each of the days, etc. But saying that all of these things can be excused. So the particular application in exceptional cases, that's not the general rule, and it doesn't remove the asl obligation. You with me, Alberto? Or no? I lost you.
I'm thinking about it.
Okay, sure.
Maybe the asl is we're all broke. Special exception is you have enough money.
The asl is faqr.
I agree. Yeah, 99% of the ummah and the non-Muslims
they're poor.
Yes,
La
sir.
ilaha illallah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And they will never make Hajj.
Allahumma yughnina.
You know, 3 million out of 2 billion every year. Come on.
I mean, that might have to do more with permits than.
No.
Allah yastur. Allah yastur. Okay, so going back to what Khalid said, we're saying that today the possibility of not knowing these things is very minute, right? Like it's like 0 to none. Khalid makes an interesting point. He says that is it possible that these people were ignorant?
Yes, because there's Muslims who grow up not really being taught that.
Okay.
And they grow up not knowing the obligations to pay the cash of fast.
Okay, so you're saying that there's a possibility, and how come this possibility exists for these people but it can't exist for us?
They're isolated. We're not.
Because of the time, right? So when is this happening? When is this occurrence?
Immediately.
This is immediately after the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So over here, this is exactly what Imam Khattabi says, is that these people are actually excused for what? For ignorance, because they don't know. Right, you're talking about like at the time the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, salawatullahi wassalamu alayhi, how big was the Muslim empire? Not even. Makkah, Medina, and Ta'if.
120,000.
Yeah, those are the ones that made Hajj with him, right? 100,000. But I'm saying you're talking about a very small empire, very small. Like Islam hasn't spread far and wide yet. You're talking about within 10 years, what happens? Right? You're talking about like ends of the earth. You know what I mean? Like that's how far it spreads. But that's still in another 10, 15 years. At this point, it's just Makkah, Medina, and Ta'if. So how far has knowledge penetrated? It's not very far.
400 miles.
I mean, radius? That's a lot, man.
No, not radius. Like just,
Oh yeah, I mean just within that sphere.
Yeah, I mean like they didn't even make it to Bahrain, right?
Yeah, I'm saying Bahrain. There's a qawl that they had set up a masjid, and that's where the Jummah was. But that was just a delegation, right? You're not even talking about like the state had been established at that point. There's no province at that point, right? The provinces they started coming after this, right? We're still talking about the initial stages. We're still talking about in the initial stages. So Imam Khattabi, he says that the reason that they were not considered non-Muslims was because what? Because of ignorance. And that excuse was okay for them, but it's not okay for us, right? It doesn't apply today. Tfadal.
If there's ignorance, it's still excusable.
Today?
Yeah, anytime. Even like towards the end of time, there's going to be people that they're Muslim, but they only know Allah, and they'll still be considered as a Muslim.
صح.
So anytime there's a jahad, you'll still be it's like case by case basis. Like I can point out maybe in the hundreds of people that just immediate, like we can know that don't know the most basic stuff of the deen except the shahada.
There's a difference between individual cases and you're talking about in mass. So over here, he'd allowed the war to be declared, and these are people were considered bughat, right? So versus individual cases, is that possible? Is it possible that a person takes his shahada and then he gets stranded on an island?
No.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? Like, or a person who no, you can't. Or a person behind the Iron Curtain, he takes his shahada and he's put in jail and he's freed after 30 years. Yes?
Yeah.
Is that a realistic scenario? He's in solitary confinement. Does he have access to anyone? No. So what does he know? He just knows that I'm obligated to love Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I agree. Are there individual cases that happen? He's talking about en masse.
Even like during time Sheikh Nabad there was a whole like province that they were like worshipping asnam. They were like they had to go there, like they were considered, they were Muslims, but they had like idols and stuff like that. They were like cut off they were completely like in still like Jahiliyyah almost. They had to like send like results to whatever they send shuyukh and du'at so that they teach the whole people like about Islam basically. So
Which prophet?
it was when I was studying Muslim.
I don't know. Well, it was. I mean, it's for me. It's a little far fetched. Yeah, but I mean, it's like so here. Khattabi, he was like a 5th century, I think. He says, فأما اليوم وقد شاع دين الإسلام واستفاض في المسلمين علم وجوب الزكاة حتى عرفها الخاص والعام. You know, so if he's saying that then واشترك فيه العالم والجاهل فلا يعذر أحد بتأويله يتأوله في إنكارها. So, I mean, Khattabi. Huh? Well, I mean, that's what he says. He says, as for today, then the religion of Islam has spread far and wide, and it is well known between the Muslims that zakah is an obligation, to the point where even the scholar and the layman know that is an obligation. And they said, so فَلَا يُعْذُرْ أَحَدْ بِتَأْوِيلٍ, so no one is excused with not knowing or with interpreting the zakat to mean something else, يتأوله في إنكارها, to the point where he actually completely denies its obligation. No, huh?
That we're talking about now? Like
No, this is a Khattabi. Khattabi, I think he's 463, maybe. أنا ناسي.
What's his first name?
Yeah. I mean, just look at Imam Khattabi, man. He's well known.
I'm the Jamie of Dawud.
Chat GPI.
Joe Rogan has a guy called Jamie that does.
Oh, okay.
I'm the Jamie of Dawud.
Okay. Whatever you want.
I'm fine.
But then who's Joe Rogan?
You don't know? No way.
I said no.
He died in 388.
No, are you trying to say that I'm Joe Rogan, man?
Anyway. He died in 388.
No. He was probably born in 388. That kid.
Al-Milad 319.
Really?
Hamad bin Muhammad bin Ibrahim al-Khattab al-Basti al-Khattabi.
Really? Okay. I thought he was 5th century. خلاص. ماشي. I'll look it up.
388.
Okay.
So he's saying that ignorance is not.
It's not applicable to these things. Now, but he goes on to say things like, okay, well, these are the things that it's obligatory for a person to know. But is it possible that a person doesn't know that the grandfather is obligated to 6th in inheritance?
That he doesn't have to.
So that's exactly what he said. He said that he doesn't have to know. Why? Because it's a detail, right? It's a detail. Or he says that you can't combine between like a woman and her aunt. Right, so he says over here, is it possible a person is ignorant of those things? Yeah, absolutely. Why? Because those are details. And we had spoken about that also. Like, what is the minimum amount of knowledge that a person actually needs to have? Right? Huh? But yeah. So what is it that we would all agree upon that is mutawatir? We would agree like the 5 pillars, right? These are things that are mutawatir. The 6 pillars of iman. These are things that we passed on generationally. The things that are impermissible. So like, what are the things that we as Muslims agree are not permissible? Right, zina, alcohol, lying, stealing, backbiting, right? So these are the things that are definitely 100% agreed upon. And these are the things that there's no khilaf concerning. Continuing on. قال حدثني قال المصنف رحمه الله تعالى قال حدثني حرملة ابن يحيى التجيبي قال أخبرنا عبد الله بن وهب قال أخبرني يونس عن ابن شهاب قال أخبرني سعيد بن المسيب عن أبيه قال لما حضرت أبا طالب الوفاة جاء رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فوجد عنده أبا جهل وعبد الله بن أبي أمية ابن المغيرة. So here we have a narration that we were at the deathbed of Abu Talib, and with him was the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Abu Jahl was also there, and Abdullah ibn Abi Umayyah ibn al-Mughira. He says, so these 3 people were with Abu Talib at the time of his death. فقال رسول الله, so the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, يا عم قل لا إله إلا الله. He said, my uncle, say لا إله إلا الله كلمة أشهد لك بها عند الله. It is a word that I can use to stand in front of Allah for you with. فقال أبو جهل, and Abu Jahl said, وعبد الله بن أبي أمية, and Abdullah ibn Abi Umayyah, يا أبو طالب, أو أبو طالب أترغب عن ملة عبد المطلب. He said, do you forsake the religion of Abdul Muttalib? فلم يزل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يعرضها عليه. So the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he kept repeating this to Abu Talib. ويعيد له تلك المقالة, and he would repeat the statement to him حتى قال أبو طالب, to the point where Abu Talib finally said آخر ما كلمهم, the last thing that Abu Talib said to them, هو على ملة عبد المطلب. He said that he is upon the religion of Abdul Muttalib. وأبى أن يقول, and he refused. جزاك الله خير. He refused to say لا إله إلا الله. فقال رسول الله, the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم said, أما والله, he says, I swear by Allah, لَاسْتَغْفِرَنَّ لَكَ مَا لَمْ أَنْهَ أَنْكَ. He said, I will continue seeking forgiveness for you until I am prohibited. فأنزل الله عز وجل, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed, ما كان للنبي والذين آمنوا, it is not appropriate for the Prophet or those that believe, أن يستغفروا للمشركين, to seek forgiveness for the mushrikeen, ولو كانوا أولي القربى, even if they are their close relatives, من بعد ما تبين لهم, after it has been clarified to them, أنهم أصحاب الجحيم, that these are from the people of the fire. Huh? What does Suyuti say about this, man? I'm curious, because he says that Abu Talib is not. Yeah.
He has a whole book.
He has a book, right? Right. So what does he do with all these riwayat, man?
Actually, he has some strange.
Some strange. No, he does, which is fine. I mean, I don't mind. It's like, it's not like.
Well, even here, the attachment of the ayah and the zal, it's not. It's a comment of the Sahaba, right?
What are you saying?
To attach the ayah to this incident.
It's possible. It's possible. So it's yeah.
Yeah, but it's still a Sahaba's statement, right? It's not the Prophet's statement.
So the thing is, you have situations where a verse will be mentioned, and it depends on the way that verse is mentioned. Sometimes the companion will insert it, believing that this is the reason that a particular verse was revealed. Or sometimes he'll insert a verse thinking that this is an explanation for what that situation is. So is that possible here? Yeah, it's possible, but it's also possible what? That it was revealed like this.
Yes.
Right? That's also a possibility. So it says, وَأَنزَلَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى فِي أَبِي طَالِبٍ, and this was revealed concerning Abu Talib. فَقَالَ لِرَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. So it was said to the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم, إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ, that you do not guide who you not just will, love, right? You do not guide who you love. وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ, but it is Allah who guides whoever He wills. هُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِالْمُهْتَدِينَ, and He is the one who well knows those who are guided.
I found something interesting here.
Mm-hmm.
The ayah says, قُلْ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا يَغْفِرُوا لِلَّذِينَ لَا يَرْجُونَ أَيَّامَ اللَّهِ لِيَجْزِيَ قَوْمًا بِمَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ. And the ayah after that is مَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا فَلِنَفْسِهِ وَمَنْ أَسَاءَ فَعَلَيْهَا. I find it interesting how the hadith and
they complement each other.
Yeah.
I mean, so over here there are a number of benefits that can be taken from this. Number one, being at the death of a close one. Yeah. Should we be there?
Yes.
Yes, we should. Right. So what are some places where a lot of death occurs?
Hospital.
Huh? So not just the hospital, but what part of the hospital?
The ER.
Huh?
The ER.
ICU. ICU.
So the ICU might not be the best place to take a phone call. I mean, the ICU, it might not be the best place to call people. Where is there a home? So there's actually a transition space. It's called a hospice. Jazakallah khair. So what is a hospice? A hospice is actually a place where people go to what? To die, right? They actually, that's where they go to die. And why is it that they go there? It's because they can still be under supervision, they can still be under care, and they can still be supervised, and it allows people to visit them. And it doesn't, like, the families don't need to create a space in their homes, right? Because if you have nurses who are already on duty, it just ends up being part of their rotation to come in and kind of check on them. They actually have things like, there's a job that's called a hospice chaplain. And you know the job of a hospice chaplain? To comfort them. It's basically just to go and to comfort them and to talk to them. In some hospitals, you have Muslim hospice chaplains. Actually, Imam Naim, I think he goes to Inova sometimes, and he'll go to the hospices. Yeah, he'll go to the hospices and he'll actually go and visit people. Even non-Muslims sometimes will ask for the Muslim chaplain.
I think I've heard of the story of like a Muslim guy coming to someone's deathbed and like finds it and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's interesting.
I mean, so people do it, and it's something that if you're ever in a tough place, go to a hospice. It really gives perspective on our own lives. And the thing about the hospice is, like, there's no discrimination. Like, you'll have all kinds of people there. Sometimes you'll have very young people. Sometimes you'll have very old people, right? Like, you have all kinds of people that are there. But it definitely does give perspective. If you guys have never had the opportunity to go to one, talk to Imam Naim and ask him the next time that he's going. You can go with the chaplain. Yeah, so it's just a matter of connecting. Huh? You can try. Other people, maybe you, I don't know. Yes.
I used to have a program with Sister Eliana.
Yeah.
For 10 years.
Yeah. MashaAllah.
A lot of volunteers.
Yeah, I mean, and people volunteer, and like I said, I think it's something, there are a lot of spaces, unfortunately, that we're not involved in, that we can be more involved in, and I think we can get volunteers for. One of them is the hospices, other places, orphanages. There are a lot of spaces that we actually can, and Islam actually encourages us to get involved in these spaces and in these places. So here, being close to somebody who's dead, not just that, is it possible that, subhanAllah, man, I just got an email, I think maybe last week, where there's this individual, and he's like, I really like this girl, and I keep calling her to Islam, and she keeps opening up to Islam, but she's not taking her shahada. Please make dua that Allah opens her heart, and please make that this and that. It doesn't matter how much we love someone, right? That's something that's completely irrelevant. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who guides whoever He wills. And who does it hurt most for? It hurts, in situations like this, like, where there's a relative or somebody who's extremely close, or where we want, we really want guidance for that person. And not just that, why more so on the deathbed? Because it's like the last chance, right? It's like the last moments. And that's when we usually want it more. Yeah, but it's tough. It's tough. Huh? No. Yeah. I mean, may Allah make us doors for guidance as well. I mean. قال حدثنا إسحاق بن إبراهيم وعبد الله عبد بن حميد قال حدثنا عبد الرزاق قال أخبرنا معمر تحويل الإسناد وحدثنا حسن الحلواني وعبد بن حميد قال حدثنا يعقوب وهو ابن إبراهيم بن سعد حدثني أبي عن صالح كلاهما عن الزهري بهذا الإسناد مثله. So you have another isnad, you have two more asanid that he brings, or two more chains that he brings that are similar to the previous hadith, except أن حديث صالح انتهى عند قوله, except that the narration of Salih, it stops at فأنزل الله عز وجل فيه. So that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed regarding this, meaning that if Abu Salih doesn't narrate this, that it's very possible that it wasn't from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, just like Alberto was saying. وَلَمْ يَذْكُرْ الْآيَتين, that he doesn't mention the two verses after that. وَقَالَ فِي حَدِيثِهِ وَيُعُودَانْ بِتِلْكَ الْمَقَالَةِ, and he says in his hadith, and he says in his narration, that he repeated the statement to Abu Talib. وفي حديث معمر مكان هذه الكلمة فلم يزال به. And in the narration of Ma'mar, he says that he continued making these statements, or he continued repeating this to Abu Talib. قال حدثنا محمد بن عباد وابن أبي عمر قال حدثنا مروان أن يزيد هو ابن كيسان أن أبي حازم أن أبي هريرة قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Abu Hurairah, he narrates that the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said لعمه, to his uncle, عند الموت, when he was dying, قل لا إله إلا الله أشهد لك بها يوم القيامة. He says, say لا إله إلا الله, so that I can testify for you with it on the day of judgment. فأبى, but he refused. فأنزل الله عز وجل, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed, إنك لا تهدي من أحببت, that you do not guide who you will, to the end of the verse. قال حدثني محمد بن حاتم ابن ميمون قال حدثنا يحيى بن سعيد قال حدثنا يزيد بن كيسان قال أخبرنا أبو حازم الأشجعي عن أبي هريرة قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لعمه, that Abu Hurairah narrates that the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم said to his uncle, قل لا إله إلا الله أشهد لك بها يوم القيامة, say لا إله إلا الله so that I can testify for you with it on the day of judgment. قال لولا أن تعيرني قريش يقولون إنما حمله على ذلك الجزع. So he says that had it not been for the encouragement of Quraysh, and had they not said, and that the only reason that he would say that was jaza. How do they translate jaza? Huh?
Saying that it was fear.
Oh, it was fear. Okay. لا أقررت بها عينك. And he says that had it not been for fear, then he would have agreed. فأنزل الله, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed, إنك لا تهدي من أحببت, that you do not guide who you love, ولكن الله يهدي من يشاء, but Allah guides whoever He wills. So I think this is the last, yeah, it's further.
When did he die? Was it the time of the persecutor?
I think, yeah, it was. I'm Huzn. Yeah.
And how is it possible that this Quraysh, they exiled these people, they still come and
They weren't exiled, right? They were sanctioned.
but in a specific place? That's also
Oh, you're talking about Bani Shar. But that happened after he died, because they still. So the thing is with Abu Talib, huh? He was boycotted too, but he still had what? He still had political influence. So he would have allowed at the time of his death, and Allah knows best. I understand what you're saying, and not just that. This isn't just anyone coming to see the Prophet ﷺ. I'm sorry. It's not just anyone coming to see him. Who's coming to see him? His family, right? It's a close family. So it would make sense that even in these situations you would have exception. In saying that, if he was from the people who was sanctioned and who was persecuted, I don't think that they would have, like, they had less issue with them kind of visiting and dealing with each other. The only thing that would be different is what? Abu Jahl coming to see him.
Did he die after the boycott?
Who? Abu Talib? No. He died. Yeah. He died during. Yeah. Because it got worse. It got worse after he died. Why? Right. He had some political clout. No, nobody else had that clout after him.
They lost influence.
Right. They lost because that year who else died? Why is it called Am Huzn? Why is it called the year of sadness or the year of sorrow? Khadija radiallahu anha. So, and these two people, Khadija, she helped him how?
Emotional.
Right, emotionally and financially.
Financially.
Right, she was a big supporter of his, and then the person who helped him politically the most was Abu Talib. So that there was a lot of support that he lost that year, which is why it was called. Not only were they close to him, right, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but a lot of the support that he had received was lost because of that. So over here, this last hadith I found was very interesting, in that it says that he didn't say it out of fear. He didn't say it out of fear. Is that not an excuse? Because where's belief? Yes.
Wasn't it like fear of they're gonna talk after me even if I pass away? That I'm gonna be left in the books that I rejected it. Was that the fear that they mentioned?
Yeah, so that's definitely part of it, right? So how are they going to speak about me after?
That like the political, or they're going to
yes.
do something?
Where it wasn't a physical fear.
I'm going to leave a bad name.
I'm going to leave a bad name for myself and my family, right? And but if we think about it, what is it that causes me to not believe? Right? It's that social pressure.
Yeah.
Right? It's that social pressure that causes me to believe. And the thing is, like, where does even within Islam that exists? How? Obviously not to the same extent, right?
I don't want my family to see
my family's going to say about me or something like that.
Right, so not the family is definitely part of it, but also the institutions that we all ascribe to, right? So why do I not want to leave that institution, or why am I afraid of criticizing it?
Cancel.
Right, because you don't want to get canceled. And a lot of times, if I grow up in a particular institution, or if I study from an institution, who is going to be my social circle?
That
Right, that group of people. So, you know, regardless of the institution that I come from, it is usually the people from that institution who I will associate with. So if I start criticizing them, who am I going to associate with? Right. Right, I become an outcast because automatically the other institutions aren't going to what? They're not going to accept me. They're not going to accept me. So if I cut my own connection, who's going to be left?
Classic politics.
Right, Allahu Akbar. Right, so if I and one of the things that we as humans fear is we fear, right? We feel disassociation. We fear being alone. You know, why is the cancel culture so strong?
But shouldn't people have thick skin? Like, your institution, shouldn't they accept some criticism at least? Like,
Yes.
That was my question.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be Karens.
I agree. You're right, 100%. That we, but the thing is, even if you look, like historically, how many people do you guys think have studied religion?
Less than 1% of
Like millions of people, right, have studied. From those millions of people, how many of them do we even know their names? Like a few 100,000.
Yeah.
How many of them do we know their biographies? Like 10,000. From those 10,000, how many of them do we consider like great scholars?
100.
Like a few hundred, like 4, right? And from them 1, right? No, I'm saying, like we have to realize, like, and why is it that these scholars became great and well known?
Their students.
Not just their students. Right? It was their charisma. It was their ability to give and take. Right? They didn't have the fanaticism. Right? That fanaticism wasn't there. Like even the scholars who came later, it wasn't. They stood. They didn't care what it was. They would just tell it how it is. Even if there was political persecution, even if there was social persecution, right? And even us as a society, who are the scholars who we look up to? Right? We look up to those people who are in jail. We look up to those people who faced adversity. We look up to those people. You know what I mean? Like those are the ones that hold status with us. And why? Because they didn't care about the status quo.
They were savage.
Right there, well, I mean, yeah.
In the good way, right?
Yeah, so it was like, I don't want to say counterculture, but the thing is, like, they're willing to shake the boat a little bit. Even the Prophet ﷺ, he said every 100 years there's going to be
somebody who renews.
Allegedly the Prophet.
Right, like, I'm with it. I think the hadith is sound, bro. Every 100 years there's going to be somebody who revives.
Yes.
I know. I like it.
Who is it today? Do you know?
Huh?
Who do you think it is today?
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Besides
Allah guide you, man.
Besides you, who is it?
So the one who's going to renew, right? So in order to renew something, what do I have to do?
You have to shake
Criticize it? Or?
Right, I have to shake the boat.
Yeah.
Right, I have to shake the boat. If I'm bringing the same things, what is going to change? Nothing. Right? In order for me to be a reviver, I have to bring something new that people are recognizing. It doesn't mean that I'm bringing something different, but I might bring a different perspective. I might bring a different idea. I might bring a different understanding to help. And this understanding actually goes back to, right? It actually goes back to the Salaf, right? It goes back to the Prophet ﷺ. So these things are really important to keep in mind. Khalas, before we go into the next bit, we'll stop here, inshallah. Allahu alam, sallallahu ala khayri khalqi nabiyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi. Fadlan, you have any questions? Yes.
So when it says, okay, qala lawla and so is that
had it not been.
That's Abu Talib talk?
Yes.
And then who's
It says over here, شو من الحديث قال لولا أن تعيرني قريش is like had قريش not been allowing me يقولون إنما حمله على ذلك الجزاء.
So is it one
So these are two different things. So over here Abu Talib says that had Quraysh not been around me, so and they respond saying that the only reason he's saying that is out of fear.
So that's the Abu Jahl and Ibn Abi
Yeah.
saying that.
Yes.
They're saying إنما حمله
Yeah. Al-Jaza. Yeah, the reason he's saying that had you guys not been around me.
Okay, and then who says la akara?
This is a continuation of the same. They're still saying it.
Which and that means la to be had.
It's like I would have done something that would have been pleasing to your eyes or pleasing to what you saw.
Again, who's saying that? Abu Talib or
So يقولون, they're saying this. This is Abu Jahl and Abdullah ibn Umayyah, right? Who are the two that are with him?
Yes. Yes. Abdullah bin Abi Umayyah.
No, Abdullah ibn Umayyah.
So, can you say again one phrase then? So, the Prophet ﷺ is encouraging his uncle to say La ilaha illallah.
Yeah.
Then he says, the uncle says, if only Quraysh wasn't here. And then the Quraysh say, Abu Talib was only saying that because he's scared.
Yeah.
What's the last part?
لا أقررت بها عينك. Yeah, no, this is an individual speaking. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm really confused.
Yeah. Guys, let me untangle this, and I'll get back to you next week.
Okay.
Okay?
So we talked about a little bit of jihad not being ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
So what would be the case if someone forgot they didn't have a wudu and they prayed Zuhr, for example?
Mm-hmm.
What would be their status? And they remembered at Asr time.
They would make up the prayer.
So what would the mess like
Yaqeen. Yaqeen and shak.
what about like, because if someone
يعني الشك ما يزول إلا باليقين. So over here you have yaqeen, you have surety that you didn't have wudu at that time. So what do? You have to pray again.
So what about like for someone, let's say like, because ignorance is a reason for you to
Be excused.
Yeah.
Like, so for example, if I didn't let me think of an example. So I didn't know that I had to rinse my mouth out for wudu. And I've been making wudu like this for like 20 years.
then I'm guessing
Which one is that? Wajib?
Huh? Allahu Akbar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And the Hanabila is wajib.
Because it's the wedge.
It's part of the wedge.
Even the
Yep, you have to do istithmam too.
wait, how many is wajib?
Yeah. The mouth and the nose is part of it. But anyway.
Okay.
Don't scare
Chill.
people, Sheikh.
Huh?
Don't scare people.
Don't scare people?
Yeah.
Listen.
Were you born a Hamdi or?
Huh? Of course.
No, seriously, where are you?
He's like, I'm
Of
gonna
course.
go to Gilani,
Come on, man. It's like I was fasting the day I was born, bro.
you indeed were.
I was born in Ramadan. You don't know that, man?
No, seriously, were you born like into it or just you were influenced by it?
I was indoctrinated.
Yeah.